This is Teresa Perkins, the editor and host of Exposure, Spotlight Magazine, where your voice matters. And it gives me great honor to introduce to you our guest on today. She has 17 years as a practicing attorney in Louisiana and Mississippi, 20 years of service in the East Baton Rouge Parish School System. She is married to Attorney Johnell Matthews. Everyone help me welcome our guest, Attorney Johnell Matthews. How are you today?
Hi, Teresa. I'm doing quite well. And thank you so very much for having me on. And I'm just looking forward to the questions that the audience may have. And I'm looking forward to telling the audience a little bit about me as well. Shall I go on now?
Just a little bit more? Can go ahead and do that now. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. As you know, I am a candidate for City Court Judge, Division C, which encompasses all of the city of Baton Rouge. And in addition to that, and I want to say too that my number is 225, just like the area code for the city of Baton Rouge, number 225 on the ballot. And I'd like to also point out that the general election is coming up, and that will be August 15th, 2020. And early voting starts as early as tomorrow, July 25th through August 8th. And I'm urging everyone to go out and vote their choice. Judges are very important in the community, and I certainly feel that I have the legal skills and the people skills to be an excellent judge on the city court, on the Baton Rouge City Court. As Teresa said early on, I've practiced law in Louisiana and in Mississippi for the last 18 years, and I've practiced law in all courts, all of the federal courts, including the Louisiana Supreme Court, the Mississippi Supreme Court, all of the lower courts as well. And I practice with my husband, Johnell Matthews, and we have a very good civil practice. And we've done some criminal, but we do some family, some criminal, some civil. So we do across the board. I have a lot of experience. And prior to becoming a lawyer and practicing law, I actually served our community in the East Baton Rouge Parish School System. I was a teacher. I taught French and English at Baton Rouge Magnet High School for a period of time. And then I was appointed as the foreign language supervisor for the entire parish of East Baton Rouge. That's K through 12. I did that for a number of years. And before I left the school system, I actually was an assistant principal in several schools. And you can learn more about me also on my web page, which is www.JohnellMatthews4Judge, and I think that's the number 4.
Wow. Look, that is a great introduction there. And you are someone definitely that seems to definitely earn and deserve that spot. However, yes, you're more than welcome. Look, you began a career in education, you moved into law, and now you're running for the city court judge in Baton Rouge, correct? Now, would you tell us what led these shifts in your career?
Okay, well, number one, I've been very fortunate to have careers that involve just serving. I'm really a servant leader. I'm a person who loves serving and helping other people. And as a teacher, I served. As a supervisor, I served. As an assistant principal, I also served. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, I cared for both of my grandmothers and an aunt. And I served them until they went on to be with the Lord. Mm-hmm. And then I decided to go to law school. I was just too young to sit down to retire. So I decided to go on and go to law school since my husband had been practicing law for many years. And that's what I did. I went to Southern University Law Center, and God was with me. He enabled me to pass the Louisiana bar the first time I took it. And at the urging of my husband, he wanted me to go to Mississippi because we had a lot of cases in that area. I went to Mississippi, and the next year I passed the Mississippi bar. So I was very, very fortunate in that regards. And I have been practicing in both Louisiana and in Mississippi for the last 18 years.
All right. Well, look, that is wonderful to hear. And of course, to have divine purpose and, with your marriage, here it is, your husband is an attorney and then you. So that is wonderful. Now, as I did some research, of course, some of your pledges or your primary focus, I would say for sure, one of them is your pledges as a judge centers around domestic violence. Would you say that domestic violence is a large issue in Baton Rouge? Definitely it's an issue all over the country.
Right.
But I want to know what do you really think, concerning that, the domestic violence?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question because it's definitely an issue in Baton Rouge, but it's an issue all over. In just about every city and country, there's no respect of place in this particular instance. I would definitely do everything that is legally possible to protect domestic violence victims. Everything that is in place and everything that we can institute in order to serve the people in that regards and to put that protection in place. Now, many times a person will come to the city court or even the district court and they will get a restraining order. But sometimes that restraining order is just a piece of paper and things still happen. So one of the things I think we need to do is to look more closely at the entire situation, what the needs of the parties are, whether it's the man, the woman, or whomever. Perhaps we could partner with some of our community services, such as mental health services, drug rehabilitation services, counseling services, so that we can really see what the root of all of this is and see what those needs are. And perhaps we can have a better result than just a restraining order. One of the other things is that, many times a person may come in, they may need some temporary housing. So I believe in a complete partnership, especially with the city court, which is what I call the people's court. And because there are so many issues that involve real people and their real lives, and they come to court for a real resolution of those problems. So I would try to partnership with our community services so that we can do more of a holistic approach, more of a well-rounded situation rather than just one solution. So I'm looking at that, perhaps you might call it a holistic approach to it.
Right. What do you think, or what does it take as far as, women being, they would do a restraining order, but a lot of time they don't feel really safe even when they do that.
Exactly.
What do you think, or what is your perspective on that? As far as what do you think that you can actually say to a woman that may be listening today, that may be, going through something like that, some domestic violence?
Well, number one, you said woman, and of course we both know that it could be male or female.
I know,
but in this particular instance,
sometimes.
Absolutely. In this instance, the person may have more needs. We need to really look into whether or not this person needs some temporary housing, whether this person needs some counseling, whether we need some child care, so we just don't do the restraining order and say, okay, goodbye, have a nice life. Let's just see what else can be done.
Well, look, we have a caller on the line as of right now, has a question. Caller, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for having me. Ms. Matthews, you mentioned something about the city court being the people's court, and that you were talking about kind of helping everyday people. What do you say about those that come into court that or kind of can't afford to pay some of the fines that or these tickets or stuff like that? Or do you have any alternative ways, or for those that can't pay these fines that they get that have to pay to city court?
Yes, I do. That's an excellent question, because many times, of course, the judge has the discretion to put someone in jail if they can't pay a fine or a fee. but I would rather have that person do some community service. That would be my first object. And of course, I would look at each case on a case-by-case basis, but I do believe that the community could be better served by having a person who cannot afford to pay a fine or a fee to actually do community service, which would be helping someone else in the community as well as helping the person who's actually doing the community service. That would be my first objective there.
Caller?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Matthew. And if I could ask one more question.
Sure.
I would like to know, Ms. Matthews, if you are elected, do you think there's possible ways that for those that, and I know we just got to talk about it, it's kind of really important to me. What do you say about those that come in your court and make a mistake? Not so much the fines, but let's say that they're a little misdemeanor and they make a mistake. Are you having ideas of what type of alternative measures that can be taken place as opposed to going to the prison, as far as those that come in there and make a mistake or something like that?
Well, certainly, everybody deserves a second chance. And right now, our jails are full of people who are just sitting there, pretrial detainees who are there for any number of reasons. However, some of them may sit for months and sometimes even years before their cases are heard or eventually dismissed. So I would look at every situation that comes before the bench on a case-by-case basis. And certainly jail would not be my first my first objective with anyone. I do believe in alternative sentencing, and I would look to see what else can be done or how else that problem can be resolved other than going to jail. Everyone deserves a second chance. And again, I do believe that community service is a great vehicle. We have great needs in our community today. And I believe that community service is a great vehicle for solving some of the misdemeanor problems that may come before the court.
Okay, caller, did that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, those are very good questions. And caller, we definitely thank you for calling, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, yes. Now, Attorney Matthews, I wanted to also ask you, those were very good questions that the gentleman asked in reference to, traffic tickets, because usually that's a lot of people concerned when they get a ticket and can't afford, to pay for it and then find themselves in jail because they're unable to do that. But your platform, it also mentions using community-based services for nonviolent offenses. Would you say that you believe nonviolent offenses should be treated differently than the violent offenses?
Well, absolutely. A violent offense is totally different from a nonviolent offense. And to be honest with you, the city court's jurisdiction would not even cover some violent offenses. That would certainly be more probable than not a situation where the district court would be used for such a crime. But the city court's jurisdiction allows us to deal with misdemeanors, fines and fees and traffic violations, neighbors disputes. For an example, if someone's dog may be barking too loudly, that's something that may bring to city court. Sometimes, or your neighbor's tree, the roots are breaking up the concrete, or something to that effect. Some issues that come to the city court, and that's why I call it the people's court, because they are real issues that affect real people. Now, someone may say, well, that's trite, that's trivial. But if it's an issue that a citizen finds to be serious enough, and meaning it means that much to the citizen to bring it to court, then that's where we should have the doors of the court open so that we can hear it, judge fairly and judge respectfully, and try our best to resolve these issues so that we get a good result all around the board.
Awesome. Well, look, I think you are really well prepared and ready for this position.
Yes, ma'am. I'm ready from day one. I have had enough experience in my lifetime. I've dealt with people. I know the law. I have all the legal experience that's needed. And I certainly have the people skills that are needed. And I have an interest and a heart. I have a heart for Baton Rouge and a heart for the people to serve.
And you know what? And I think that should be the case with a lot of people that are in leadership. You have to have the heart for people, because if you have the heart for people, then I think that your job, you would do really a spectacular job. And don't get me wrong, I understand that in some cases it may be difficult, but really if you have the love for people, then I don't see where too much can really go wrong, because you have to have that love. And really, my father recorded a song. He's a singer. I don't know if I got a chance to share that with you, but he recorded a song called "The World Needs More Love." And just imagine if we all had that, then the world itself would just be a better place to live.
Absolutely. The world needs more love.
Unfortunately,
yes, it does.
Yeah, that wasn't the case here. But
well, I promise, Ms. Teresa, I promise that, as a part of my platform too, I promise to treat people with dignity and respect when they come to the courthouse. They won't have fear that the judge will not treat them fairly. They will say, even if they are given a certain amount of, punishment or whatever for whatever has happened, they will feel when they come out of the courtroom that they were treated fairly.
Next, we have our next caller on the line. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you doing? I'm so excited to be here right now.
Oh, great. We're glad to have you here, and thank you so much for calling in. And you have a question for Attorney Matthews?
Yes, I do. I noticed that a lot of your platform is on reform for civil or domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do have a question as a male audience member. How do you feel, or how would you try to reform or break down things? Because there are a lot of female abusers. However, police do not take those seriously. And so there are a lot of battered men that deal with abusive girlfriends and wives that their first response is to hit. And it is expected for them to take it. It is a downward stigma, and it's laughed upon the police. They don't take them serious. They also are demasculated if they try to talk about it. So how would you try to help them in seeing justice, that nobody should put their hands on anybody, and that domestic violence is a serious problem, and it should never be okay?
Absolutely. And I think that we talked about that just a little bit earlier, because when we said that, domestic violence can go two ways. It can be the male or the female who is abused, and no one should put his hand on the other person or her hand on the other person. And, domestic violence is also verbal abuse as well as physical abuse.
Yes.
And that's the other thing that we have to take into consideration. Therefore, that's why I've said that a restraining order is a good legal outlet. However, it's not the end of that situation. And whatever that domestic violence situation is, it should be coupled with therapy. It should be coupled with some counseling, mandatory counseling, mandatory therapy, and any other of the services that we have available in our community, so that we don't just give a person a restraining order and say, just, okay, goodbye, you've got your restraining order. But we dig a little deeper and see what else needs to be done. We may have a situation where you may have someone who has been abused, and that person needs some temporary housing. So that's where our community services will come into play. So I do believe that we should take, and I've said this before, a holistic approach whereby we try to combine services and see if we can't work out these differences, with some counseling and treatment. We may have someone who needs some mental health treatment there.
Mm, yeah.
So, we can't overlook that. We can't overlook mental health services.
With you saying that you would look at it in a holistic approach, that's very encouraging for me and for my generation. I'm in my mid-20s, and we are a millennial group, and we are looking at things slightly differently, where it shouldn't be necessarily cut and dry, black and white, because all situations aren't, and everybody isn't made the same. So
absolutely.
Look at it holistically is very encouraging for me as a voter in this area. Like,
Thank you.
It's very supportive. I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your question. That's a very good question, because that particular issue is very prevalent in our community and across the country.
Yes, across the world.
Across the world.
The world.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Is, we are seen as more aggressive and stronger than women, so we're expected to deal with that type of abuse. However, whenever we do, if and when we ever do retaliate, it's an automatic jail sentence. And if we don't retaliate and we complain about it, then we're seen as less than a man, or if we do complain about it, it's never taken seriously.
Okay. Well, I would definitely take everything seriously that comes into the court and look for ways to resolve these issues other than just a restraining order, and that's that. It has to be more than just a restraining order.
Yeah.
Yes. And just as you said, that takes a lot of work.
It does take a lot of work, but it's very important. It's very important, and it's important to me. If I'm the sitting judge, it's important to me because I care about the citizens. I care about our communities, and we would be better served if we can nip some of these things in the bud before they become large issues.
Yeah.
Or larger issues. I'll put it that way: larger issues. Because any form of abuse isn't already a large issue, but it could become even larger and more dangerous if we don't nip it in the bud.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
Absolutely. Exactly. That's correct.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate your question.
I appreciate your response.
All right. Thank you, caller. We greatly appreciate it. All right, and I think we have another caller. That's in. We have another caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You have a question for Attorney Matthews?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Now this is my question. Okay, but I'm biblical. I like to stay with the Bible. I don't do nothing but that, because the Bible ain't nothing but a war book. And as you already know, the Bible says, on this rock I build my church. Just talk about the soul planted to the church. So everything that we're looking at, I'm looking at today, this world is in serious trouble. It looks like time is really about to really expire. Not on black people, but on a certain group of people. Now I wonder, what can you do for us?
Well, I am a Christian, and I do read the Bible. And, I know that God loves fairness, and, he advocates fairness and justice. There's a whole book of judges in the Bible. So judges are extremely important. And the purpose of the judges, even in the days of old, were the purpose was to have order in the community and to assist people in bringing about resolutions to their disputes. So I believe God loves judges and respects judges because we have judges in the Bible. And I, if elected, I would be a judge that would be all about fairness and justice for all people who come into the courtroom. And, if we can work things out so that it's fair, it's just, and it's appropriate, that's what we're going to do.
Now that's wonderful. I like that.
Of course, we're grateful for the calls that came in. But I do have this question that I would like to ask you, Attorney Matthews, is that with calls for reform in the justice system and police, what would you tell the community about the importance of voting? Because that is so important to vote. And a lot of people, I hear it all the time, well, it's not going to make a difference if I don't do it. But it will make a difference.
Absolutely.
You know? So what is the importance of voting? You can
absolutely.
People?
You know, voting, the right to vote is a fundamental right. It's guaranteed by the Constitution, by the United States Constitution. It's guaranteed by the Louisiana Constitution. It's guaranteed by almost every constitution. So the right to vote is so important. You know, as you know, we as a people once didn't have that right to vote. So we had people who marched and bled and died for us to be able to vote. And, you know, and I'm not talking about just one, all people did so. So voting is extremely important. And if anyone says that their vote does not matter, I totally disagree with that. And I would say your vote definitely matters. If you don't vote, then your vote does not matter. But if you do vote, your vote certainly matters. Even if the candidate you're voting for does not win, that doesn't matter. Your vote still matters in the grand scheme of things. You know, sometimes we look too narrowly at a situation and we'll say, well, you know, it's so large, it's so wide, it's so tall. My little one me won't make a difference in the midst of all of this. But actually, the one vote matters. One vote matters. Now, we have this election coming up again on August 15th. August 15th. We just had an election, a primary on July 11th, 2020. And now we're coming back to finish up the job on August 15th. I'm encouraging everyone to go out and vote. And I can tell you this, if there's someone who cannot get to the polls and needs a ride to the polls, I will do everything in my power to assist them. And they can call the number, you know, call my office here at 225-296-1115. And we'll try our best to get everyone to the polls if that's someone who just can't get there. And again, Ms. Teresa, I'm very happy that we are able to vote by mail. I'm happy that we are able to have early voting because the lines are short. The early voting facilities are very clean and they're sanitized. You know, on July 11th, I went to vote, but of course I had voted early. And they even have a little, I don't know what you call it. It's like a little finger glove, for lack of a better word. You know, so you don't even have to touch with your bare finger. You're touching with your little glove finger. I thought that was very cute. And the lines are very short. It's easy to go in and pop right out. And of course, if someone doesn't have transportation to the early voting polls, which includes the Secretary of State's office there on Essen Lane, the City Hall downtown, and also on Coursey Boulevard at the old fire station. Behind that fire station is also another early voting site. But if someone cannot get there, if you need a ride there, just give me a call. I will certainly try to help get you there. But if you can't, then of course our neighborhoods and our regular voting polls, regular polling places will be open and available on August 15th, 2020. But if you can, vote early so you don't have to wait for August 15th. But if you can't, be sure to go and vote on August 15th. Because your vote matters. That's your voice. And it definitely matters. Your vote is your voice.
Amen. I agree with that. And once again, the ballot number is 225. And what number can they call again if they need
Yes. On the ballot, my name again is Johnell Matthews. And I'm number 225 on the ballot, just like the area code, 225 for the city of 225. And they can reach me at my office at 296-1115. That's 1115. Okay? So, and we'll be happy to try to help anyone who needs a ride to the poll get there.
Okay. Well, look, once again, I enjoyed this interview and speaking with you. And I wish you very much success. And God got you,
Thank you so very much. I appreciate you.
You're more than
welcome. Thank you for having me on. This was a wonderful, wonderful interview.
Oh, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And may God bless you. And
thank you.
Be safe. And I look forward to seeing more of you and much success, okay?
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Because
have a nice evening.
This with you, Attorney Matthews. Know this, that your voice, it matters.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.